Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday Morning Breakfast Club. People are still around the coffee and the pastry that our candidate brought in. We appreciate it. But we're here, actually, in the Lincoln Road Eatery that let us come in and have this forum here. And we are very grateful that they do, and they have wonderful food here. So thank you very much to the eatery. Today we have a candidate from Group 1, but I want to introduce Matthew is a candidate, and Lane is here from Matthew Group 1, and Lane is representative of our mayor, and I always forget to introduce him today.
Wow! Everybody can clap. Yay!
But I'm missing my old faces for night coming. I have a few of the old faces, and not that they're old, but long-standing people here. So we have a very exciting candidate here, Monique Pope. Pardo Pope, that is running in Group 1 also, so she's going to tell us why she's running, what she thinks she's going to do, how she thinks she's going to do it, and anything she wants to say from then on. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much for having me this morning, Valerie. I truly appreciate your graciousness
My pleasure.
in hosting me. I am so thrilled to be with you here today, this morning, Tuesday Breakfast Club. For those of you who don't know me, and that might be a number of you, because as most of you know, I am a first-time candidate, but I have a wealth of experience that I want to be able to share with you today about who I am, where I come from, and why I believe I am the best candidate to hold the job of being your commissioner in Group 1. Now, a little backstory about me. Who was born and raised in Miami Beach? By raising hands. Anyone? Anyone?
What was the question? I wasn't listening.
Born and raised. Anybody here been born and raised in Miami Beach? Okay. Anybody born and raised in Hialeah? What? Okay. So my story begins before I was born in Hialeah. It started with my mother. She came from Cuba in 1964 in Operation Pedro Pan. For those of you who don't know Pedro Pan, that was Catholic Church way of bringing young children to the United States once Castro took over in Cuba. And so my mom had the very good fortune, with the support of the Catholic Church, to flee Cuba by herself with one suitcase to come live with aunts so that she could have a better life. Now, why is it so important? Actually, if you give me 1 second, the woman that I'm actually speaking so deeply and carefully about has just entered the room. I know, perfect timing. I wanted to I'm sharing with everybody why I'm here today. It's because of you. So, my mother raised me as a single mother, and shout out to all the single mothers of the world, because we are resilient and full of grit because of their hard efforts. She raised me in Hialeah, and she taught me about sacrifice. She taught me about being fierce and persevering over the most difficult of challenges. Any obstacles life presents to you, those are the ones that you face head on. And those are the lessons she instilled in me. So growing up in Hialeah, I got my education, but in that, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, Cubans love coming to Miami Beach They have small units, one-bedroom apartments, studio apartments, the smallest of spaces. But they spend their weekends in Miami Beach, and so that's what we did. We grew up coming to Miami Beach, and I've seen Miami Beach in all of its iterations. We lived at the Casa Blanca. We lived in North Beach on 72nd off of Collins. And we experienced the beauty and the joy of what is Miami Beach. Its beaches, its people, its culture, its vibrancy. We spent so much time traversing Ocean Drive, and those are the memories that I grew up with. Fast forward, University of Florida, I was able to earn a full scholarship where I studied history and political science. I always knew from a very early age that I wanted to fight for others because she fought so hard for me. So that led me to UCLA, where I got my law degree. I studied hard, I worked jobs to put myself through law school, and I said, you know what, now is the time to venture out into the world. So haphazardly, as the world, as God wanted, I ended up in New York, where I had an opportunity to segue while studying for the bar. I segued and I started working in the financial industry. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Wall Street, but as you can imagine, it's as sensational and high pressure as all of the books say, as all of the movies say, as all of the sensational stories tell you. They're pretty spot on. Why is that? Because you are dealing with people's livelihood. You are dealing with their wealth. You are dealing with them having the ability to support their families. I was one of 3 females on a trading floor that consisted of over 200 men. I traded institutional equities I was an institutional equities trader for both domestic and international stocks. I worked with hedge fund managers and portfolio managers from all over the country. And my learning curve was this steep. I knew nothing about trading stocks. I knew nothing about a ticker or finance in general. I learned, and I had to figure it out because it was so important to be masterful and skillful in something that meant so much to other people. And so that's what I did for 6 to 7 years. I worked in finance, and I struggled through it, and I learned how to survive in high-pressure environments, dealing with the most diabolical of personalities. You can imagine. When you're dealing, nobody wants to, what are the 2 things you never want to deal with? You never want to touch a person's finances or their families, because that's where the claws come out. My husband looks at me with pride in his eyes and fear, because he knows what are the 2 things you don't mess with Mama Bear about? Finances and her kiddos. So, after many years of being and working hard in New York, my mom, I'm a single child, by the way, I will say that. So mom started saying, you know what, I think it's time for you to come home and spend time closer to home. And so that's what I did. I came back in 2017, and I started working as a creditor litigations attorney at Andrea Palma Levine & Solis. That opportunity opened such doors for me in a way that I am so grateful to God for presenting me with. Why? Because on that flight down to Miami, I met my husband. We had seats assigned next to one another on the plane. So, if you don't believe in Kismet, if you don't believe in fate, there are many opportunities to see God work His miracles. And He did that in my husband. Because I would not be able to be here without you. You are my rock, you are my heart, you are everything. Now, yes. So, I worked hard, and then of course the pandemic hit, and in this time we got married, we had our first child. We were living at the Grand Venetian, off of the Venetian Islands. We spent a lot of time walking, meeting our neighbors, speaking to our neighbors, enjoying Sunset Harbor, and all of the beauty that it brought. But in that time, I was able to work several pro bono hours as a guardian ad litem. Raise your hand if you know what a guardian ad litem is.
I am one.
Okay, there you go. Valor is one. You have, and I'm sure you would agree, right? I hope you'd agree. There's not, I think personally, there's not one harder job to do, particularly in a pro bono setting, than to take the livelihood of a child and to determine what is in that child's best interest. So that's what I did. While I worked my day job as an attorney, I spent my pro bono hours on the weekends and the nights focusing on cases to better the lives of are indigent, who don't have someone to speak on their own behalf, who are suffering through sexual exploitation, human trafficking, their parental rights have been terminated, horrific experiences that you can only imagine. And so I said to myself, after one of the judges approached me one day in the family courthouse, said, we need guardian ad litem like you. You have a temperament that serves these children well. Would you consider taking on more cases? And so that was the genesis of my family law practice. I now have my own family law practice here at 777 on Arthur Godfrey. I am a small business owner here at Miami Beach, and I invested deeply in my community. Why? Because children are the future. There's no way we're getting around that. Our parents, our grandparents, they built the foundation in which we stand on today. But if we do not provide a future foundation for our children, there will be no generations to come. Not at the quality of which we hope and aspire them to be at. So, when I started my family law practice, a large swath of that practice was dedicated to guardian ad litem report. So what does that do? What does that mean? That means I take cases and I analyze them thoroughly, full investigations, and I tap into those families. I tap into those extended families. I speak to therapists. I speak to DCF. I speak to friends and family. And then I have to make the most difficult decision imaginable. I have to decide who that child gets to live with. Do they live with mom? Do they live with dad? Or, worst case, are parental rights terminated and they live with no one, and then they go into the system. All horrible, terrible options. But I'm the one that has to make the decision. Because the judge entrusts me with that decision-making authority. And why do they do that? Because they trust I am going to make the best decision. The decision that is in the best interest of those children. That is an overwhelming amount of responsibility. One that I do not take lightly. I do not take it lightly in my day-to-day, nor will I ever take it lightly as I move forward through the course of my career. So you ask why, in this infinite amount of free time that I have, between being an attorney and a guardian ad litem, and a mother to two beautiful children, and I hope a wonderful wife to my husband, do I want to take this task on to serve as your next commissioner? Right? And it's a very good question, and I've been asked that question. I actually saw on social media, I try not to engage too much in community forums that might kind of delve into a bit of toxicity. But I did see one post that said, well, how in the world will she have the time? And so, what is the idiom that is always typically, it's cliche, absolutely, but it's so true. You give a busy mom all of the tasks because you know there is no doubt she's the one that will ultimately be able to accomplish it. You have no choice. You find the time. You manage your time wisely, and you invest in the things that matter. So I am choosing to serve as your commissioner because I want to be your advocate. Because I want to be transparent. I want to serve for you. I've been a mediator in courtrooms. I've been a mediator with DCF. I have been a mediator in the toughest of circumstances. And I have been able to be a tempered voice. Somebody that is not diabolical. Somebody that knows how to cross aisles, come together, and find what is in the best interest for that person, that resident, that association, that company, whatever it is. You have to be a fiduciary to them. And no better experience than my professional work experience, my experience as a mother at home, my experience as a small business owner here right now in Miami Beach. All of those experiences comprised together is why I believe I am the practical choice. I am the choice of longevity. I am not using this to lead me to greater pastures. This is where my children are. They are 4 and they are 2. They are at St. Patrick's Preschool. I serve as the president of the PTA. I hear the stories. I know what the teachers what the parents, what the students want, what they need, what they're yearning for. My kids will probably go to North Beach Elementary next year, God willing. And so we're in it for the long haul. That's why I've invested my time here. That's why I've invested roots here. That's why I hope to raise my grandchildren here. And that is why I hope to move my parents to be closer to me, so they can live out their days as seniors here next to us. They live in Kenville, by the way. But to that end, what is our platform, right? Because we don't have a record of service. I don't presently sit as a commissioner, so I don't have a record to platform on. However, I do have a vision for what I see Miami Beach can and should be. Safer. We want a safer Miami Beach. What does that mean? Safety. When I think of safety, I think, of course, public streets, making sure we can walk safely during the day, at night, dropping off our children. When our children get out of school at Nautilus Middle School, where are they going? Are they going to the Starbucks on the corner? I know I have Captain Luis Sanchez there, and I entrust in him and Chief Wayne to know that they are protecting our children. They're protecting them in Mid-Beach, they're protecting them in South Beach, in North Beach. We know that we've done an incredible job of safety, and I praise Mayor Minor for his hard work, and the entire commission, because they truly have done wonderful, wonderful things over the course of the last 3 years. I don't have to get into the details of it. We all know about breaking up with spring break, but we cannot stop there. We must continue going. Why? Because we cannot only just be safe in our streets, we need to be safe in our waterways. Why do we continue to have accidents in our backyard? Now, arguably, is it our jurisdiction to say how to manage and regulate maritime waterways? There's a jurisdictional question there. We don't know. Hello, Harold. How are you? Thank you for coming. No, please sit down. So part of my safety platform is working with local police enforcement, first responders, ensuring they have the tools necessary to do their jobs effectively. Community patrols, ensuring that residents who want to be involved in safety measures have the capacity to do so, the resources, the training. Leverage AI. We are in an entirely new world of opportunity. Resources can be allocated accordingly, smartly, and the Commission's doing a very good job of that. Our first responder program that we have, I don't know if anybody of you know about our drone program that we've started to institute, real-life drone programming. As of right now, those drones, their battery capacity life is about 25 minutes. So what does that tell you? Those drones can go up in the air in South Beach and in real time create opportunities to capture thieves, capture burglaries in the action, capture assaults in real time. What does that do? Drives down our crime rate, drives down our, all of those stats that we love reading about. Those are the programming that help get us there. I want to see those drones in North Beach. I want to see those drones in Mid Beach. I want to tackle large events. We have FIFA coming here next year. Miami-Dade County is the #3 county in the country of human trafficking. Orlando is first. Human trafficking, we're #3. What does that tell you? You are going to have millions and millions of tourists coming into our city. We need to have the safety tools in place, in measure, so that our first responders, our police officers, can do their job effectively. Because we need to protect those children that are out on the streets during these large events, during our making sure that they have those tools. So safety in our streets, safety in our waterways. We also need to address a huge lingering issue that we do try to tackle very well, but we can still do better. Mental health resources. We do not want to criminalize individuals who should otherwise be Baker active, who should otherwise be giving the services that which they need. We have incredible nonprofit partners, Favela, Hermanos de la Calle. We have ways to work together in public and private partnerships to figure out how to get the homeless into the proper care that they so desperately need. I understand we have anti-camping laws, and they must be enforced. As an attorney, I believe in prosecution, I believe in enforcement, and I believe in upholding the laws that we have in place. But I also believe in repealing and amending bad law. I also believe that sometimes we can over-regulate ourselves into a place where we are not effective. So, we need to be smart in how we handle the homelessness issue. We need to address mental health services, and we need to provide them. We have a huge budget that is directed to homelessness. A large swath of that budget needs to be dedicated to mental service providers and being able to facilitate that safety component. Now, this brings me to my next point, smarter. What do we want when we discuss overdevelopment? And I'm not going to opine on overdevelopment and less development, but I will say this. We need to have smart development. We have to have smart growth, right? Grow or die. However, it needs to be done in partnership with our culture, with our heritage, who we are. It needs to respect our Art Deco history. It needs to respect the foundation in which this beautiful city was built. So, smarter when it comes to infrastructure, quality of life issues, resiliency issues. We need to address these matters in a smart way that builds partnerships between our private operators and this municipality in which we live. We need to be smarter on how we leverage opportunities at the state level, at the county level. We have partnerships in state senators, in House representatives, in county commissioners, where they get a lot of our tax dollars. We need to make sure that we are appropriating dollars accordingly. Stronger. We can be stronger by how? How do we become stronger? By investing in the youth of our city. Education to me will always be a cornerstone of my platform. I will not quit until I know that the world around us knows and truly sees Miami Beach for what it is. The best place to give your children a public education. Why are so many families, when I speak to them, one-on-one? I mentioned I'm the co-president this year, God help me, of the PTA at St. Patrick's. And they all say the same thing. Well, North Beach Elementary, South Point Elementary, incredible schools. But come middle school, we're probably going to leave the island. And we're going to consider looking at other private schools. Country Day, Belen, Governor, other options. And I always ask the question, why? Because I do believe in school choice. I believe if you have a strong belief system that takes you to a parochial school or a charter school, you should be entitled to explore that option. If you need the funds, you should be entitled, because it's so important, education, right? You've got to have a say in that. But the same way that Melissa in Communications at the city did a superb job with our campaign on breaking up with spring break, let's utilize the minds in our city government, put them together in a room, and develop the most incredible PR campaign to showcase the world, showcase Miami-Dade County specifically, of why we need to enroll our students in Miami-Dade Beach's public schools. South Point, Biscayne, North Beach Elementary, Feinberg Fisher. We have incredible schools, right?
Well, we looked at each other because I live next to the Fisher College. I said, she's going to forget that.
Right? But we also know, and Beverly and I have spoken about this, the higher the enrollment, the higher allocation of dollars you get from the county, right? Because it's certainly not the responsibility of Miami Beach residents to have to fork over money, more money than they already pay towards education. But did you know that Miami Beach High School has the most incredible IB program that gets students 2 years already into their college experience? Free, at no cost to parents, because they pay for it in their taxes. Do you know that
I brought the program.
on that we considered that, and only because we lived in Kendall at the time, and because of the commute, could we not have that as an opportunity? But there's no opportunity places, you gotta come here to the beach. The gifted programming track at North Beach Elementary. Beverly, you are a champion of that programming. And I have 26 families that came from St. Patrick's that are now enrolled in Miss Leon's class at North Beach Elementary. And you know why? Because of individuals such as yourself, Dr. Rosenberg of QEC, of the tireless efforts of that committee to make sure that we have the best of the best. Why don't people know that? Why haven't we been able to spread the word? We put our money where our mouth is. We invest in making sure everybody knows that this is the place to enroll their children. They don't need to send them to private schools. They don't have to. We're going to continue to invest in pre-K3 educational opportunities, programming. I continue to hear from parents. BPK is amazing. BPK is amazing. But why does it end at 1 o'clock? Where do I send my kids after 1? Do I send them to MUSC? Do I keep them in the lunchroom? Where are my options? St. Pat's right down the street. They hold their kids there till 5. So, there's a gap there. Where do we find the funding? I'll go up to Tallahassee. I have no problem. I have passed legislation on behalf of women as part of my Florida Association Lawyers Board. I sit on the executive board. But what do we do every year? We write legislation that we think is going to make a difference in the lives of our residents, our families, our mothers. Why can't we do that? We absolutely can. We need to do more of that. We need to figure out a way how to enhance the programming already in place. One other reason why we sent our children to St. Patrick's at an early age, because there was somewhere to send them. When a child is 3 months, 6 months, 1 year old, and mom's working 3 jobs, what is she going to do? She's going to pay for a nanny? Nannies right now start at $25 an hour. People can't afford nannies at that rate. Particularly if you have to keep them there all day long. Sure, you can send them to KLA in North Bay Village, which is where we sent Emerson. And it's an amazing, we had a wonderful experience. I shouldn't have to drive to North Bay Village so that my 6-month-old can be kept safe. Because let's call it what it is. It's a daycare. It's making sure that they have somewhere safe to be. Too many horror stories I have seen of children being abused, being neglected, being taken advantage of in situations because parents don't have any other options. And they do it haphazardly. They assume that risk. Why? Because what's the greater risk? Losing their jobs? Not being able to put food on the table? Can't do that. So, with the kind of money that we have in this municipality, we need to come up with smart solutions on how to fill the gaps. Fill the gaps. So my job, as part of my Stronger platform, is to focus on making sure that those gaps are filled. That we have an advocate on the dais that also will put a shining bright light on the gaps that we need to fill within our community. I also think it's important to address our blighted corridors. As a business owner, small business owner, I have, what is my square footage right now on my practice? 520 square feet. And I thank my amazing husband who negotiated that deal for me. You haggled and you got us a good price. But now, what are we dealing with? Permitting issues, foot traffic, signage, all of the things that make municipal government cumbersome. But I'm proud to do it. Why? Because I want to give back to the community in which I live in. I want to be able to say that somebody needs a family law attorney, they know that they have me right down the street. They don't have to go into Brickell. They don't have to go into downtown. And guess what? They don't have to go online and search for an attorney or paralegal that might be able to fill out their paperwork, who might not be working in their best interests. We need small business operators in our city. We have to have them. Now, in order to do that, that means we have to support them. How do we support them? We make it easier for them to operate here. We make it cost affordable for them to continue to pay the rent that they so desperately have to continue to pay, because to lower their prices. You just can't. Can't do it. But we can surely incentivize them. And that is what our House legislators are working so hard to do. With the removal of the commercial lease tax that just passed this past year, we now have a 6% gap that we can now use with our landlords to incentivize them to bring in operators into their empty storefronts. We cannot have blighted corridors in Washington, on Collins, on 41st, on Ocean Drive. Lincoln Road is a shell of what it used to be. However, now, with this amazing commission who's done an incredible job, they're really trying to fortify Lincoln Road to come back up into what we know it possibly will be again. We're going to have a convention center down the street. We're going to become a convention center culture. We have to find ways to work in partnership with our small businesses. Listen to them. Hear them out. Figure out what they need. Now, in addition to activating those corridors, stronger, all-encompassing stronger, quality of life. We need quality of life issues addressed. Why? Because God bless you all that can come here on a Tuesday morning and listen to me talk about who I am, where I come from, and what I would like to do for you. Study Hour is an incredible opportunity to open the forum and the floor to community residents. Commission meetings on a Wednesday that last about 10 hours. God bless you if you're able to attend those. The majority of the residents of Miami Beach do not have that luxury. They are not able to come. Why? Because they're busy working. They're trying to get to their jobs and they're out because they can't afford to live here. They're trying to get to Jackson and they're trying to get to Palmetto and they're trying to get to Nicholas because they can't afford to live here. They have to work elsewhere because we don't provide them. We need to provide them an opportunity to thrive. So what does that mean? We make it easier, more accessible for our first responders, our teachers, our nurses, our service workers, the people that keep our city running. Why shouldn't they also have an opportunity to move here? Now it becomes an issue of affordability. Housing, as we know, is a conundrum unto itself. And it's not just a municipal issue, it's a national issue. We all know that. But we need somebody ultimately on the dais that's going to serve as your advocate, that's going to be transparent. I was reading in another group chat about notices, or the lack thereof. Now, as you know, paper notices are kind of going to the wayside and everything's being uploaded electronically, and we're leveraging electronic opportunities to be engaged with our community. The seniors of our community represent a very large swath of our population. And I can tell you right now, my very best friend, who is in her early 70s, she doesn't know about the app. She doesn't know that she's receiving notices about what's coming down the pipeline for phase 2, phase 4, phase 7, or what's happening with our GEO bonds, or what's going to be transpiring in her backyard with the traffic signal. She has no idea. Why? Is it because there's a lack of transparency, or because we are not putting in enough time to get back to the basics? We must put people on notice. When you file a claim against someone, how easily can that claim be thrown out? Why? Because they weren't given notice. Food services, notice. You have to serve and notice the residents of your city so they are aware of what's happening. I read something interesting, I think it was a couple weeks ago. Someone had made a comment about what's been transpiring in North Beach regarding quality of the water. It's as easy as signage, right? We got to start somewhere. That's a form of notice. I promise you, my very best friend who lives in Normandy, who's considered putting her children in Biscayne, if she knew about what's transpiring with the water there and the tests that have been run, I mean, we can talk about tests all day and opine on that, and I'm not an expert, subject matter expert in that whatsoever. However, the bottom line is this: the water's polluted. It's polluted. So as it's polluted, wouldn't the first thing to do be notify the residents that the water is polluted, and then let them take it upon themselves to be activists, to call the governor, to reach out to Mayor Gaba, to do whatever it is that they believe is in the best interest of their families and their children. It cannot all be left on the government's shoulders to make a path to solutions. We have to work together. Because unfortunately, municipal government can only go so far. And we are only good as one vote on that dais. One vote. So my ask, my question for you is, take a shot on me. Learn more about me. Call me. I have my cell phone. It's public. I happily give it to you. Come visit me at the office. Talk to me about what's going on. I talk to seniors every single day. They're concerned about transportation. They're concerned about elevators being out of order for 3, 6, 9 months. That is wildly unacceptable. That cannot happen in a city that earns as much as it does in revenue, in tourism tax, in all of the things. And so, we cannot ignore those who do not have the time or the energy or the resources or even the knowledge because they are left in the dark to fend for themselves. We must help them help themselves. That is what an advocate does. That is what a transparent advocate does. And I will leave you with this. One thing that I find to be something that I'm very proud of. In order to be a licensed attorney in Florida, you have to pass a moral fitness test. What is a moral fitness test? Moral fitness exam. Who you are, what you've done in your life, any transgressions you've had or may not have had. They put that weight on those individuals. Why? Because they know serving as an attorney in the state of Florida means something. It's something so important. Because I am a fiduciary of Greta, I am a fiduciary to Beata, I am a fiduciary to Beverly and Maddie and Sarah. You have to believe in the people that you are electing to serve on your behalf. That's all I'm asking for. To learn more about who I am. I'm not going to have the answers to all the questions. I say that with full transparency. I am not a subject matter expert on everything, right? Even though I claim to be sometimes at home. But I will say this. No one will work harder for you. No one will manage your desires and your voice and your needs better. Because that is what I do every single day. For small children, for seniors, and families in need. Give me that opportunity to do that for you. I will not let you down.
Thank you. We are now open for question and answer. So, questions? Okay, so hold that. I'm going to hold the mic.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for coming. You had mentioned in your introduction that you have no political background here in town, and yet I've been watching, and you seem to have a considerable amount of money in your campaign.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, where did those funding come from? Was it personally done?
Sure.
Or?
Happy to answer that for you.
Thank
What
you.
was your name again?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Tim Johnson.
Very nice to meet you, Tim Johnson. We met earlier, but I'm happy to answer that question. Tim's absolutely right. I have served, for those of you that don't know, and I don't know that I mentioned it, I did sit on the Commission for Women. I was appointed by Commissioner Suarez to that commission. I unfortunately had to resign from that commission when I chose to file for this run. I sit on the board of my neighborhood association. I sit on NAHA under Michael Bernstein, who is a dream, and I love him. And we actually were the ones that did the resolution to get temporary lights installed at Polo Park. With regards to my campaign finance, I am incredibly so proud of what we were able to do in a very short amount of time. Why? Because my husband and myself, we put skin in this campaign. We put the money where the mouth is. We are ensuring that we have a vested interest in this race. I have no qualms or secrets behind that. We have friends and family that believe in us tremendously. My mother, our best friends, my colleagues, people that I go to school with, that I work with, that believe in me. And not that we haven't even had our campaign kickoff yet. Our campaign kickoff, our first one, is tonight. So I hope those coffers will continue to grow so I can continue to get the messaging out. I think it's important, once elected, God willing, that we have more transparency around who candidates are able and allowed to speak with. Because I think that therein lies some issues. Where did she speak to this developer, this donor? How did she come up with this money? Where is it sitting in the shadows? Who's funding her campaign? But I will say, without a doubt and full of transparency, all the color in the world, this is a family and friends effort. And that is where that money has come from. No, we do have a PAC. Of course, we have a PAC. It's not my PAC, but I know that we do have a PAC, like all the other candidates. I'm sure at some point have a PAC. But we don't operate with the PAC. I operate with the campaign. Yes.
Well, you have a PAC, you're going to use it. Somebody's going to use that money to help you.
Okay.
And by the way,
Other questions?
Oh, you do? Good. Well, I hope if you have questions, we're parishioner there too. So.
The two most important issues that we have, the how you call it, homeless and the housing here in Miami Beach. The homeless is a perennial thing that we have experienced for 30 years. Now, how you solve it in the aspect of the court, because it's not only the Bakers Act, it's when they get into the early court. Okay, the question is that, what are we going to do with the court?
Well, we have to
When they say,
Yeah.
okay, it's kind of great, how you plead, guilty, time served.
That's the problem. So, and I know where Armando is going with this. Again, this comes back to the question of whether or not we're criminalizing homelessness because they are out on their luck or because they're violent criminals that have mental health issues. You know, what the chicken or the egg. We have to figure out ways of supporting in conjunction with nonprofit organizations that have done tremendous work in the city of Miami and throughout the Dade County. We partnership with them and we make sure that we have beds. And if they're not beds here, we find them beds out of the county.
There's no beds here, and there is a lot of money spent. There's a lot of money spent from the city on homeless already. And Favela is one of them that is working and contracted. And we have a holistic approach to the homeless here, which I was very careful when I was there to try to install, and it was put in place. And luckily, the problem that we're having, and I spoke to some of the commissioners, is that all the homeless, if it was a criminal act or breaking that whatever it's
Ordinance.
called. What is it? The ordinance?
The
What-
camping
It's an
ordinance.
anti-camping that was
They're
just signed.
bunched together.
Says
I
1370.
I asked to please break that number because you're making it look like 26% or
42%.
46% or 42% are criminals. And there are not all criminals. There is a division of breaking an ordinance that they don't want to go to some of them have mental problems that they won't go to a shelter, and the shelter sometimes misuses, they are threatened there and they don't want to go, and the actual criminal homeless. And some of the commissioners have said that they're going to do that, because when I heard the number, I got very worried.
Sure.
But it's not a true number. And so I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And to your point, Mount Sinai, and I've spoken with representatives of Mount Sinai about the issue as well. I live in Mid-Beach. I live right off of Jefferson and 45th. We're right across the street from Alton Road. Mount Sinai releases, as you can imagine, individuals who have been held in drunk tags, Baker Acts, and they have a system in place that the state of Florida subsidizes so that they are able to be picked up and transported to shelters, to wellness centers, to rehabilitation centers. But unfortunately, a few do get through, And they cross over the meridian and they come and wander into, and that's where our Miami Beach Police Department does such a good job about making sure that they are picked up and provided the opportunity to do services. But we do have vagrancy that needs to be addressed. It's the criminalization of mental health that we have to be so careful with.
I want to, no, I don't want to do it. Because I go into the first one.
Thank you, Monique. I said you don't want to talk about overdevelopment. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm obsessed. I voted, I like all the commissioners, but I voted for several of them because they were going to control overdevelopment. Has not happened. And now we have projects popping everywhere. 740, there is one in Alton and Puente. Now Raleigh has been abandoned. So your position on this, because I think it's very important, not because they're tall or because of infrastructure.
Sure.
We cannot afford that infrastructure.
And to your absolute point, that's part of our smarter segment of our platform. If we have no issues with smart development. It's making sure we are not building on crumbling infrastructure. We need to make sure and incentivize landlords that own historic buildings, give them an opportunity to renovate the facade, give them an opportunity to fast-track permitting so that they are able to work on the structures and the buildings that are presently in place. We do not want demolition by neglect. It's a terrible policy. It's a terrible way to operate a municipal government. Now, developers. We can't all look at the developers and say, well, they're all bad, because they're not bad. They're not, to a certain extent, right? They have to pay.
They all want money.
They do, but they all have to pay. They should be made to pay the public benefits that suit the needs of this community the most. That might translate into more green space. That could translate into more parks for children. But it needs to be invested, in my opinion. We need more housing. We can't get away from the fact that we have no affordability. We have an affordability issue. We have a housing issue. So, make them pay their impact fees. Thankfully, those will be going up. Make them pay to build here. Build partnerships with us the right way. If they're not going to do that, if they're not going to respect us, if they're going to come in here and try to displace us, then they just won't come. And we need to have a strong enough commission to know, to be able to not be scared, to stand up to the big bad developers, to say, you know what, on this one, I don't agree with you, but be transparent with them. Don't operate in the shadows, letting them think that something's going to get approved when we know it shouldn't be approved. That's why the sunshine laws are so important. That's why we need to have notice and transparency and openness in town hall discussions. Why don't we have more town hall discussions? Once I get elected, we will be doing office hours. I want people to know the predatory practices that take place in your contracts. When you got developers coming in and they say, you know what, I like your 2-bedroom, and I'm gonna buy you out, and I'm gonna make you the best deal that could have ever come your way. And then you look at the fine print and you realize, probably not the best deal I could have ever made. How would you know? You're not a subject matter expert on the issue. Nor are our commissioners. They shouldn't have to be. We put together the best minds in this city. We do open hours. We come to City Hall. We sit and give everyone a chance and an opportunity to learn about what's in the fine print. Veterans, disability claims, they don't, for the most part, they don't know what those encompass. You can have 100% of your disability paid for by the federal government, but they don't know how to execute those claims. They don't know how to file those claims. Why? Because there are no attorneys in Miami Beach presently that focus on veteran affair issues. This is a federal government issue, and so it's not profitable.
Let me ask you,
Sure.
do you know what type of government we have here?
City manager government.
And do you think it's wrong as a city manager government?
I think each commissioner gets one vote. I think the mayor gets one vote.
That's not really what happened. You were there when I was there, and one of the committees, when the housing deal for
The Doe bill?
which is very
The Doe bill?
Ellen,
Yeah.
one that I spoke with.
Yes.
That I spoke on, where they were saying housing for workforce housing. And I finally got fed up with the transparency that was going on. And I got up and I said the rent that we're going to, a 2-bedroom was up to $5,000 a month. If that is workforce housing, I don't understand what the hell.
No,
You know,
it's a mistake. Yes.
You know, so that is what we're talking about. A studio was $2,400, and 1-bedroom was almost $3,000, and a 2-bedroom is $5,000 a month. Now, that's what nobody said the rent. That's transparency. That is not transparency, because I texted somebody on the dais and I asked the person, ask the rent so that it would be transparent, because that would be the first thing anybody does. They did not do it. I had to get up and give the transparency. And that is all, and that's why I don't believe in development. There is no smart development. There are developments to push people out here in Miami Beach. And if it's a city manager run, 7 commissioners are making the deal up at the dais. And that is not how it's supposed to be. They're supposed to have a consensus and then tell the manager, you go and make the deal that we want, which is not happening. And I do this for education for people, because there is no one, there's no newspaper to have check and balances. Anybody can put anything in the internet that they want. We don't know what is truth and what is not truth. We need activist people. We need people. Do you know how much money is given from the city budget to the schools in Miami Beach? You talked a lot about schools. You know?
To the schools in the Miami Beach budget, the majority of that comes, the funding, as we know, from Miami-Dade County. It's 20%, if that.
We give more than $10 million to offset the schools here. Why doesn't the PTA go to the county and ask the school board for the money? Why is it that we are supporting? We are a donor city, and we give money for the schools every place else, and then we have to pay for our schools if we want them to be good.
We have to.
And she works very hard.
The microphone.
I don't want to hear.
Money.
Sit down. Please sit down. Please sit down.
We do it.
Sit down. You express your thing, and I express mine. I don't put up with it. He doesn't know me.
No, he
I get this all the time.
Matt, you're Cuban too. He gets it. But you're right. To your earlier point, Maddie, affordable housing is a misnomer. There's attainable, there's affordable, there's workforce. I lived in Manhattan.
Workforce is a plus.
It's still a subset of housing
It's a
that they
subset
discuss.
for developers.
Yes. So what we need to do is we need to give everyone an opportunity who wants to live here that opportunity, particularly those that work here. And I agree with you. But it is a misnomer, and it's something that we need to work on. But to Beverly's point, we have to have partnerships. Hold our school board accountable. Work with the superintendent. Make sure, and that goes back to enrollment numbers. The more numbers, the more children that are enrolled in our public school system here in the municipality, the more money we leverage from Miami-Dade County. But there are also grants available to us at the state level. I know, but we have to be able to leverage our partners in Tallahassee as well, because the source of funding is there. And I will champion those efforts. I will be the commissioner that focuses on making sure we source and find the funding and bring it so you don't have to pay for it.
I want to thank Liliana Garcia, because Liliana Garcia, I'm a Democrat. Okay? I'm a Democrat.
This is not part of it.
But,
You are a good Democrat.
yeah, but I call whoever I have to call when there is a problem. And Garcia happened to be be a very good person and a very good representative for us. And I called her and I told her about the money cut. You have not spoken about the elderly. They're taking our money away to feed the elderly. And I had to call her, and she made a few calls, and the county has a huge budget deficit. And they had stopped the money from coming over here and to feed the elderly.
How many
They're
meals
cutting
are
all the program.
How many meals right now can you feed at Comida?
150.
150. How many more would you need to make sure there is no food insecurity amongst our seniors?
No, 150 is good. There's another one that's going to be opened by the city here in South Beach, which will, and there's a variety of places, but they keep cutting and the price of food goes up. The price of people working on more salary because they can't sustain. We are not going to be able to sustain unless money comes. The city does fund us very generously, more than the Alliance. With the Alliance, we could only buy 30 meals. And we feed 150. So the money comes from the city, the money comes from other places. But the costs are very high, very high.
We have lost $180,000, and we have recuperated Braziliano, which is our senator. 80,000 still are missing.
She is very good. You can call her, I can call her for housing, so it is not a party thing.
No.
I don't believe it's a party thing. It's a
Okay,
person
questions?
thing
Question,
and a
question,
heart
question?
thing.
No?
Do you care about everybody?
question.
Do you
Okay.
care about everybody equally? And that
And I
is
agree.
Manny, we have a question over here, and then a question over there.
My question is about mass transportation.
Sure.
Have you got any plans for the mayor or whoever is in charge that you can put in, and what would your plans be? Considering that most people that work here don't live here, and most people that live here work over there.
Yes, yes.
Okay?
And I, absolutely. Transportation, as you know, huge quality of life issues. People that are coming over 195, 395, it takes them an hour and a half to get in and out of the island. Third bottleneck, I live on 41st. Takes me 2 hours to get home from Rockall to my home in Mid Beach. We need to leverage our partnerships with Miami-Dade County. Metro Connect is a service that the county provides. We as a municipality do not participate in Metro Connect. Not sure why. I'm sure I can venture to figure it out. But we need to have those conversations. We are one of the largest economic driving forces in Miami-Dade County. Tourists come to Miami Beach every single day. And we do not have the infrastructure in place to support the transportation needs that we must have. So what does that mean? That means alternative transportation opportunities. Does that mean micromobility? Does it mean designated bus routes? Does it mean new upgraded trolleys? When I speak to seniors, there are issues with ADA accommodation on the trolleys that we presently have in place. That's a huge problem. We have no way for workers to come over from the mainland to work here on the city. Why don't we have a centralized parking location available in Mid Beach, in North Beach, in South Beach, where we have buses coming over 195, 395. I wouldn't venture to say Venetian Island. But we have a way to transport individuals who work on the island that can come in and out more seamlessly. Silver passes for seniors. Why don't we have something like this in place? Where on the weekends it can be designated senior routes where they can go shopping, they can go to the bank, they can get their hair done. That can be an incentive that the municipal government provides for their seniors. We need to come up with smart, common sense solutions on how to do that. We're doing it slowly with the synchronization of our lights. As you know, that's controlled by Miami-Dade County. However, our government has gone through incredible lengths to have somebody from Miami Beach in the control center synchronizing lights. Will that help with transportation? Sure. Get in and out faster. However, it's not enough. We need alternative measures for transportation. our bus routes. We need to do a study. And I hate saying that, to be fair, because the more studies we do, the more analysis we do, it's the more time we lose. We need action and we need urgency in quality of life issues. So I hope to engage with the city when it comes to Metro Connect. I hope to find the funding sources to partner with the city in a way that can utilize services that the county is utilizing in Kendall, North Miami, in Palmetto, that we do not utilize today in Miami Beach. Yes. Hi.
Hi, Monique.
How are you?
Great presentation. So I just wanted to ask, because I arrived a little late, how long you've lived in Miami Beach and what
She went through all that.
community benefits you've brought to the area.
Yeah, I watched the beginning of the video.
So before you walked in, because you were a little late to the presentation, but I was born and raised in Hialeah. My parents had a place on the beach in North Beach growing up all their lives. We lived in Casablanca temporarily, and I came back from New York in 2016. I married my husband in 2017. We lived at the Grand Venetian for a number of years, got pregnant, had our baby, and bought a house on 45th and Jefferson.
Great. I have a question here.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. In the past, we have tried to do the water taxing in order to help, and I have suggested to the city and I suggested to the mayor that we should have some type of water trolley for the people who work here. That the business gives them the free ticket, so they will not bring their car to Miami Beach, and that's going to help alleviate so much. But they have to be able to work with the business in order to give it to the workers, because they can't afford that. The water tax is way too expensive, so the business should pay for it, and then they should give them the free ticket to the people who work in Miami Beach and leave the cars in Miami-Dade.
I agree with you, and you know what? Mount Sinai is actually employing a program similarly for their nurses and their doctors. They are trying to figure out a way how to get them to park in the mainland, and they're busing them over here so that they can work on Mount Sinai and not get stuck in traffic and have to deal with the parking. I think it's on the ownership of the private enterprises to provide that opportunity, which is why I think if we can employ that same method, it doesn't have to necessarily be just on the water. Get your businesses that are here in Miami Beach, incentivize them with some subsidies towards those tickets for maybe 6 months, get a pilot program growing, give those workers an opportunity to have parking. Restaurant workers need a place to park. Have them park in downtown, have them park across in Edgewater, and we bring them over on a bus or a trolley, and we facilitate that congestion increase. Thank you.
Oh, we have a question, and this is the last one.
Okay. Last question.
Hello, you are a very impressive lady.
Oh, thank you so
God
much.
bless you. My one question is, how do you plan to use AI to leverage AI to better our community and for our citizens?
Absolutely. And what was your name?
Selma. Sorry, I didn't
Selma,
introduce
no.
myself. I just moved from Manhattan. I have a similar background.
Oh,
Also
good.
worked on Wall Street, trader, and
Oh.
to the U.S. mission to the UN.
Oh,
Former
wonderful.
diplomat.
Oh, excellent. Well, as you know, as you can imagine right now, AI is the wave of the future. AI has already been employed in Wall Street for now probably a decade, right? Fast money algorithms, fast trading algorithms. AI is the way of the future. I am scared of AI. With full disclosure, lawyers could be out of a job in the next 5 to 10 years. You know why? Because somebody like my mom can very quickly create a cease and desist, can very quickly create a contract that will best suit her. Now, she doesn't have the subject matter expertise that others might have, but AI has the capability to reduce processes that do not need to be overcomplicated. We can leverage the simplification that AI brings us so that we can focus on issues that matter, that really truly require our knowledge and our expertise. Processes with regards to buildings and permitting and coding and things that can easily be dropped into an AI platform that we ultimately get to dictate what that algorithm is. Let's leverage that better. So we are more resourceful with our money, with the time of our employees, so we can do what matters most, spending time with our families. and living out the best life possible in Miami Beach. Thank you all. Thank you so very much.
Before we go, a couple of announcements. Number one, the city has a presentation on how to appeal your property taxes.
Please attend that.
It will be on August 20 from 5 to 7 p.m. at City Hall at the Commission Chambers on the 3rd floor. And our next Tuesday morning is going to be on August 2nd, and Omar will be the presenter, so we'll see you back here. Thank you again, Monique, for being here. All right, and
Thank you all so much for being
Lincoln
here.
Eatery.
Thank you very much.
September 2nd. Don't listen to me. Just look at the email, look at the Facebook.
September 2nd.
Yeah, like I always say, don't listen to me. Listen, look at the email.